All right, we're live here with the Gafford and Brown Show, episode number 18. I am Lamar Gafford,
And I'm Robert Brown.
and we have ourselves a very, very big show for us today. We're going to have Dr. William Broussard, AD of Southern University. He makes it back on the show as our guest. He's going to talk to us about Southern and every single other thing else on about the tournament. And we're also going to have KTVE Brady Renard on the show. He's going to be talking about the Demons. First of all, we've got a whole lot of topics to talk about, but right off the bat, we're going to talk about the tournament right here. And man, it looks like, what's your thoughts about this tournament this year?
Well, right now, I got to say, I don't think anyone had a clear cut favorite in mind going
Mm.
into the bracket. I mean, of course, you have, your university you're going to or your alma mater, but for the majority of us, a lot of people, waited last minute to fill out some brackets because we were kind of hesitant on, Final Four selections and title game. Looking over my bracket, I'm comfortable with it. I made some upset moves. I got some powerhouses going on. I also got a few surprises now. But overall, I'm excited about this tournament. I think it's going to be a good one. I think we got a lot of great matchups. A lot of teams that look hungry. I mean, the Michigan State game going on right now. We see a competitive team in what's their name?
Valparaiso.
Valparaiso. They look confident. They look. I mean, they got a starting lineup full of seniors, so they look confident. They look like they're ready to go. The distance with Michigan State now.
And you know what? That is pretty rare in these days. In these days right here, where we have so much parity, and it seems like we got like almost everybody and their mama, especially the big programs, having the one and done players. Especially like the Kentuckies and all of them. But then you also got to still have the smaller schools that do have that continuity of
Right.
seniors and juniors. Either starting, maybe coming off the bench and all that stuff too. So it's just pretty amazing right there.
Right. 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 So it's a lot going on right now. Now I want to ask you, how confident are you in your bracket selection?
So far, it kind of was. There was a little bit of hesitance of me really picking it. I probably would say I'm like fairly confident in me picking the bracket. I'll just go ahead and say it right now. I picked Louisville to win the whole thing, and it looks like almost everybody else in our challenge here, the Gafford and Brown challenge on ESPN, had Louisville picking it. It's like six out of the 8 people have Louisville winning the whole thing.
Right. Now I can't mention the same. I have Louisville going to the title game,
Hmm.
but I have Indiana winning the whole thing.
Hmm.
Now, Louisville, what played into your decision to pick Louisville to win the whole thing?
Just to me, I just think that their path to the Final Four, while albeit they're in the toughest, I think they are the overall number one. They are in the toughest bracket here because you got Duke, you got Michigan State, especially teams that could beat them. It's just that I just felt very confident about it. It's just I felt like with them going through the gauntlet that is the Big East, I felt like that kind of prepared them a little bit just to get to the title game, just to get to the Final Four, and also for them to win it. And that's why, especially whenever they said that they were the number one, that they were the number one here, the number one overall number one. I really had no objections to that because I just felt like that just their gauntlet for the Big East just kind of prepared them for that. Now, what do
Right.
you think about that one?
Now, Louisville all the way. I wanted to pick Louisville to win, but then I thought about it. I think Indiana has a very easy road. I think they can make it without too much of a hassle. I think North Carolina State might be a big test for them if North Carolina State advances. And I think Miami might match up well with them if they make it that far. But I picked Indiana to win the whole thing because I mean they've been rolling throughout most of the season. We've seen them play well. A couple of hiccups here and there. I think they have one of the best players in the state. I mean, in the nation. And I just really see them having this magical season come to an end with them cutting down the nets.
Right.
And now, the rest of my Final Four, I have Ohio State coming out the West. I have Louisville coming out the Midwest. I have who do I have coming out the South again? Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. I forgot who had coming out the South. Yeah, Minnesota coming
Yeah.
out the South. It was such an upset pick that I forgot.
Hmm.
I have Minnesota coming out the South, which shocked a lot of people. And out the East, I have Indiana, and I have Indiana winning the whole shebang. So I'm pretty comfortable with my choice.
Now, and going with Minnesota, in which that's just kind of like that's a very good upset pick right there in its own right too. But I can really see that happen because they are well coached. They were a very good team at the start of the season. And, I think they were battle tested pretty much in the Big Ten. They held their own pretty well. They weren't Michigan, they weren't Ohio State, they weren't the top four teams, but I think five teams. But they did hold their own pretty well, and they did have they played pretty well. They played pretty well during the season. So I can really see that. My Final Four, I have Louisville winning the whole thing, obviously. I have Miami in the national championship game. I really believe in them. And I have Georgetown making it out of the South, and I also have New Mexico making it out of the West. And I think the New Mexico pick has been a little bit of a trendy pick. Did not get a chance to see them play. But me looking at the schedule, they didn't have too many bad losses. They had more good wins than bad losses. And also their RPI was pretty much high. So I just like, you know what?
Why not?
Why not?
So it's more research than faith.
It's kind of that. It's kind of that, to be honest with you. Like I said, I never get a chance to really see them play. But to me, it just seems like they have a pretty decent team. And also, you look at the teams from the Mountain West here; they've had some decent showings in the finals. So why not?
Right.
Now, going through the whole bracket right here, of course, we just had said that Louisville is the overall number one. But the other number one seeds were Kansas, Gonzaga, and Indiana. Do you have any objections to those teams being the number one seeds?
Yes.
And if so,
Gonzaga was no. Well, it's not necessarily Gonzaga. I think they played their way into a number one seed deservingly. So it's Kansas more so. Because let's be honest, the Big 12. I mean, you have some teams, represented, but they really weren't dominant per se. And Kansas has some bad losses to TCU, and I can't remember the other one, but they've had some losses. I think Miami winning the ACC, coming into this season with high with expectations, but not this high that they would do this well. And what they did, I think they deserve it. I think they deserve the number one seed. They won the ACC. We've seen them play well all year. I think they deserve the number one seed.
And I really think so too. I mean, you gotta say it from Gonzaga's point of view here. They were the number one seed. They were the number one team in the nation coming into this, and they had at least that right there. So, I have to give them that. And I have to give Indiana that because for most of the season, they were the number one team. So I got to give them that. And I think, like I said about Louisville, the gauntlet of the Big East, they have to be there too. The one that I really did not think was right was Kansas. I do not think they are a number one team. I don't at all. And the fact that they got the number 2 one seed is just kind of like baffling to me because I know that they bounced back pretty nicely, but still fresh in my mind is their losses to TCU and a hiccup during the middle of the season.
Right.
I mean, I don't see them as a number one. They could have been they should have been a number 2 at least, and I don't really have them going far in this tournament.
I think they got the rub from voters because one, they're Kansas. They're a legendary program, and they had a pretty solid season and they won the Big 12. So I think they got the rub over Miami, and that's just something that happens. When you have big brand name schools that draw a lot of money and interest,
right,
and have tradition behind them.
Right.
So that's what I think it was. I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes.
And that's probably part of the reason why. One team that we really thought that should have been the number one, Miami, here, based on their play and all this stuff, might have been probably the reason why they did not get the number one seed because, historically their program has not been this good, and it just seemed like they came out of nowhere. Nobody really had any expectations for this team, and they did lose. I mean, they had one bad loss early in the season, the Florida Gulf Coast. So nobody really expected them to be, the ACC champions. But they really took a lot of big strides, and I just really thought that they should have been the number one team. But I really think them being the number two, that's going to enable them to have a chip on their shoulder, and I think that's going to have them doing pretty well. What do you think?
I agree as well, and I think Miami, like a lot of people, I even have a friend who even picked them to go to the title game and win, and it's very possible. They play well. Like you said, they have that us against the world mentality now. After being denied that number one seed, they feel like they still not give the due respect because this team won the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
The Big 12 was a nice conference, but I think the ACC had a better year all around, and they won it, outright. So I think they deserve, more attention and more respect.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see.
And I think definitely it's going to be that right there. Now, I really think that it's pretty much going to be that. Looking at some more of the tournament brackets here, who do you have is probably your biggest upset going into the first round?
I think Marquette losing might be my biggest. Marquette losing to Davidson. That might be the biggest I have right now at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, I have them beating UCLA, but a lot of people have liked that Minnesota team to beat UCLA. I guess a lot of people aren't, believers in UCLA because they don't really rebound well in 3-point shots. They're kind of streaky, so I see why a lot of people might pass up on them. I picked Villanova to beat North Carolina. Not much of a big upset as far as seeding goes, but a lot of North Carolina people pick North Carolina just because it's North Carolina.
Me included.
I think I picked New Mexico State to beat St. Louis as well. That's kind of an upset, and that's about it for the most part.
Now, like I said, all of those are pretty good upsets. I think with mine, I think this is probably the first time that I went with a 14 beating a 3, and I do not think I really don't like Marquette, and I don't think that they're probably going to win this game against Davidson. I really do not, and I have Davidson winning this game. I have Arizona. I have Arizona losing to Belmont. Which I think that's kind of a trendy pick, but I think they're going to lose to Belmont in this one. I have Minnesota beating UCLA too. Something to me really does not scream wow to this UCLA team. I think this is a team that's probably kind of there. I don't, of course they got Shabazz Muhammad, but they have been inconsistent at points and times this season. And actually, I felt like Oregon is probably going to beat Oklahoma State. Them winning the Pac-10, despite I think them winning the Pac-10, I think they got a bad knock on this. I really think they got a bad knock of being a 12 seed. Like, you got UCLA being a 6, but you got Oregon being a 12. I really think Oregon's going to come out there with a chip on its shoulder, and I think they're going to beat Oklahoma State.
I can see that happening as well. It's something I've struggled with doing, my selection of teams. But I have Oklahoma State winning, but I definitely wouldn't be shocked if Oregon pulled that off. Because, like you said, their 12 rank is a bit misleading.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 12 seed, we've seen them play well this year, and I think they're capable of making it to the second round at least.
Right, and. Really, I really think that they're pretty good. The bad thing is just the Pac-10. We've talked about the Pac-10 once before on the show, and we said that the Pac-12.
Yeah,
Pac-12.
Pac-12.
Right, forgive me for that. But the Pac-12, we said this about it that we really weren't that high on it before. We had talked about it with Clarence Sellers that was on the show once again. And we really weren't that high on the Pac-12. and that's probably had a lot to do with it. Sadly, we saw UCLA come away with a 6. We saw Arizona come away with a 6. I just thought that maybe it should have been like they could have given Oregon a little bit of a bone there, maybe giving them 11, maybe giving them a 10. Heck, maybe even a 9 or stuff like that based on how they played this season. And Cal got an 11. I think they're right there, really where they should be. But it's just, I guess, it's just the power of the Pac-12 right there.
Right.
So,
Now, I want to ask you, you've been on about how Kansas doesn't necessarily need to be a number one. Who's your weakest number one, and do you think it's Kansas?
I think it's Kansas. I really think. Well, going back to it, to be honest with you, I think maybe Gonzaga might be the weakest number one.
Hmm.
I really think so. I know the logic really does not make a lot of sense in this one. But I believe Kansas is a little bit stronger than Gonzaga at least. Gonzaga to me is just that I despite me having Kansas being out in the round of 32, which I'm going to call it the second round. I don't want to call it the third round at all. And I have Gonzaga going all the way to the Sweet 16. It's just that Gonzaga has a little bit of an easier path, and that's why I have them going a little bit further. I have losing to Kansas State, to be honest with you. Nothing really just screams like wow about this Gonzaga team. They are a good team, but they've had some losses here and there too, and they cruise through their conference. So, I just really think the Gonzaga is going to be the weakest one. Am I going to say that they're going to lose in the first round, be the first one to lose to a 16? No. But I really think that they're kind of the weaker number one, though. How about you?
I agree as well. It's no disrespect to Gonzaga. I just think that they're a victim of their own success and a victim of their limited, competition sometimes, with their conference. But I definitely see them being the weakest one. I see if there's a way, if Pitt makes it, past Wichita State, I can see some upsets going on here. I think Pitt has a good chance of beating Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wisconsin has a good chance of winning that side too. So I think they have a test ahead of them. Like you have New Mexico going that way.
Right.
I have Ohio State coming out of there. I think Gonzaga has a tough road.
Right, and exactly. It's just that the West, there's not too many. It's just like I feel like that was kind of more of the toss-up round right there. It's not exactly the group of death, but then again, it's kind of like the one where you can just see anybody coming out of there.
Right.
Gonzaga could shock somebody; they could come out of there. Ohio State, they could do some big things in there. Like we said, New Mexico, Kansas State, which has a very good coach, which we have known them, Bruce Weber, which I really did not. I really did not. I thought he was still with Illinois, to be honest with you. I think that they might have a shot to do something in there too. It's just the West was a little bit more of the toss up round here, and once again, it's just we're gonna see how Gonzaga is now being the hunted instead of being the hunter. We've seen how Gonzaga had been in the past. We've always known them for being the Cinderella team, knocking off big time teams and all. Well, now how do you do when the target is on your back?
Right, and another school is a good example of that is Butler. Butler against Bucknell.
Mm-hmm.
Butler, a team that we saw play in the national title game not too long ago, and now they're no, not Butler. Forgive me. That was BYU, but Butler's a team that we see come from the bottom ranks to being a school a lot of people have advancing now, going against a hungry Bucknell team that kind of resembles them. And the way they play, their heart, and what they were a couple years ago.
Right. And so that's just one of those things here. How can you bounce back? And I really saw this from like Gonzaga once before. I think it was what year was it? 2006. That think they had a pretty decent showing in the 2006 tournament
Mm-hmm.
before losing to UCLA. But they were like kind of a hunted team because they had the All American Adam Morrison
Right.
on that team, and they kind of choked a little bit at the end of that game right there too. So it's a whole different story when it comes to you being when it comes to you being now the hunted. It's a whole different story. And how did they prepare themselves for that? We don't know, but it's just going to be one of those things right there. Now we also have ourselves two Louisiana teams in the tournament this year, and we have Southern University, which actually they're going to play against those Bulldogs right there in the tournament, and we also have your Northwestern State Demons here. They're going to be playing against Florida, and ironically, you got a Florida hoodie going on right now. I know football. I know football. I know where your royalties lie on that one with Duke and everything. I really said that this foursome with UCLA, Minnesota, and Florida, Northwestern State is kind of our Gafford and Brown, the Gafford and Brown one, the Gafford and Brown future one, because UCLA, Minnesota, of course, we got Clarence Rock in Minnesota. We got Evan Barnes, him with being UCLA fan. We got you liking Florida, especially in football. And then we got your team, Northwestern State. Now, your thoughts about them. Do you think they could pull off the upset and beat Florida?
I think Northwestern can do it because they lead the nation in scoring. So we know they can put points up. They have they can run with anybody. I like their up tempo style, and Florida can do the same thing. But the thing about Florida is when I watched them play in the SEC tournament against Ole Miss in the championship game, I saw a lot of flaws to this team that I think Northwestern would be able to pounce on. Because the thing about this Florida team is when they get down, they don't necessarily have someone that can take over a game. And I think that's going to hurt them if they get into a close game with Northwestern, because Northwestern has a very deep team. And I was just reading a story on James Hublin. A guy, he's a fifth-year senior there. He's from the area. This is his first time being in the tournament, and I think he's going to have a big game. I think he's going to have a breakout game. He had a breakout game against Stephen F. Austin.
Right.
That led to them winning the Southland Conference and getting this bid. And I think he's mature now, and he's such a hard matchup because, this is a guy that is he's huge in the post. He's 6'8", he's 232 pounds. So you have to deal with him in the post, but he's also shown the ability to hit the three-point shot now, and he hit a huge three-point shot against Stephen F. Austin. So I think he's going to cause Florida some problems, and I think Florida just would have to. I don't necessarily say slow the game down because their strength is running, but I don't think they want to get in a shootout with Northwestern.
Right.
So I definitely have Northwestern getting the upset. I think that they match up well with Florida. I think this is the perfect team for Northwestern to play in the first round to get that upset. So.
And it really could happen. Last time Northwestern was in the tournament, they were a 14 seed. They upset a 3. Everybody remembers that. It's still in the memory banks of everybody. Them beating Iowa. Heck, I was so happy for y'all when that happened and all that stuff. I think I probably cheered a little bit too because it was solidarity and all that. I really think they have a chance. Now I don't have them winning that game, sadly, but I think they do have a chance. The one thing that does not have me have any faith in Florida, even though I have them going to the Sweet 16, the one thing that does not have me have any faith in them is that how do they perform late in games. I can especially saw two of their last games. Their game against Kentucky to end out the SEC regular season, and also their game against Ole Miss. Where they had the lead in those games, but yet they crumbled in the end.
Right.
And that's going to be one thing. If you put some pressure on this team, can they withstand that pressure? Can they withstand it? Florida, we had seen them before as they were basically beating everybody in the SEC early in the season. They were beating them out, blowing them out. But I think their first loss was to like the Arkansas, and I think that the Florida can beat you if it's a blowout. But the one thing is, are the close games here? Can they win those close games? If you put them in a close game, can they stand up? That's just going to be one of those things that's going to be remain to be seen here.
Right, and I think this is the just a great thing for the state to see, two teams, in the NCAA tournament in Northwestern and Southern University, especially Southern University, a school that, has an enrollment of, 6,000, students, and see them play in the tournament. It's very uplifting. Then there are HBCUs, so, we don't have many HBCUs in the NCAA tournament.
Exactly.
So to see them there, it's very, uplifting, and it's something that makes the state look good as well.
Now, a lot of people really had thought about having this upset here. Many people saying that this might be the first time that the 16 goes ahead and beats a 1. Do you think Southern can do it against Gonzaga?
I don't know. I can't tell you much about Southern. I have to be absolutely honest. I haven't seen Southern play this season. I've seen them play, prior to this year. This isn't their first, time in the tournament, But I just don't think they have enough. I think Gonzaga's going to get it because, I think they're prepared for this. I think they know they have that target on their back. They're the number 1 seed. I see them winning. I know it's a sexy pick to some people, but I just don't see it happening.
Me either. I mean, no disrespect to Southern. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for them because of, the HBCU thing, and that they're a state team as well. But it's just kind of one of those things here. I know a lot of people really want to go out there and say a 16 is going to be the one, but to me, it's just like this. I'm not going to pick it until it happens. Right. And I don't think this is going to happen this year. Gonzaga is a pretty good team. Like we said, despite the fact that they're kind of the weakest number 1, they are a good team. They're nothing to sneeze at. I think Southern can make it a pretty close game, though. That's going to be one thing, especially if Gonzaga takes them lightly. But I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening at all. But I really hope that they do make it a close game. I really think so. And all that. So, and let's go also out to the NIT right now, too, where some of the teams that basically had not got a chance to get to the big dance basically got to the little dance. And my goodness, Kentucky, how the mighty have fallen this one.
Yeah, that shocked me, because I didn't get a chance to see the game, but when you told me that, they did what they did, they lost, I was taking a step back. Then you told me who they lost to. I was like, wow, like you said, the mighty have fallen. It kind of, we know they had the injury this season to, their superstar player Noel, but it was more than that. This is just a young team that really just didn't come together for Calipari, and kind of shows you that the one and done has its perks when you're getting top recruits, but when you lose an entire class, and it kind of hurts,
And that's just one of the things here. A lot of people are going to go ahead and say that it's okay, and all that stuff. We've seen some of the more elite programs, and this is how Calipari is. Mostly, he is the guy that is going to get all those recruits. He will get you to the pros. He's been there in Kentucky for 4 seasons now, and he's been to his first year he went to the Elite 8. He went to the Final Four his second year. He won the title his third year, and he went to one and done in the NIT in his 4th year. It's just the one thing about the one and done is like, it can get you far. It can get you far, and it can get you the good recruits, the talented recruits and all that. But the one problem is, do you have that continuity?
Right, the constant rebuilding.
Right. That's gonna take a little bit of a toll. Now, I mean, you could basically, and he can do it. He can plug in players, get them in, and all that stuff. I think that's kind of probably one of the things that kind of hurt him in Memphis a little bit too. You know, made it to the Final Four 2 straight years, into the national championship game that year with their Rose, but can you do it year in and year out too?
Right.
And I think one of my friends had actually said it once before, had said it yesterday, that he would gladly take I think one of the big name coaches, Brad Stevens, actually Brad Stevens' approach to everything, John Calipari's approach, because with that you could build a team, you have a team full of seniors and all that. Coach K is one of those guys that really does not have the one and done. Not too many one and done players. He might have had a few. Austin Rivers comes to my mind. Kyrie Irving another player comes to my mind as well. Tom Izzo, you don't see him have too many one and done players. Roy Williams, you don't see him have too many one and done players. And yet,
well, North Carolina, kinda.
Yeah, true. I think Harrison Barnes was like a sophomore when he got out, though. But there's that thing right there too.
Yeah.
That it just builds the continuity here. And how can you do that if you're constantly rebuilding?
Right.
Really, that's just the one thing right there. So, that's just it right there. It was just a shocker to me, and also going into a little bit more to NIT too. Louisiana could have also had 3 teams in there, but Louisiana Tech lost in the first round. I think their first game of the WAC tournament, losing to Texas San Antonio. But they also put themselves they got themselves a big win against Florida State, 71-66, and they're also going to play against Southern Miss on, let's see what day is the 25th, Monday. Next Monday at I think it's about 9 o'clock. At Southern Miss. So big hopes to them. Hope they survive and hope they advance, and probably hope they get to MSG out there for the Final Four of the NIT as well.
Right. And like you said, much respect to them, because they came mighty close to getting into the tournament, but unfortunately, they had a couple losses that blemished their record. But great season they had overall, despite not making it to the big dance, and always next year.
Exactly, always next year. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna take ourselves a 30-second break. We will be right back. We're gonna try to get Dr. Broussard on the air. We're also gonna read a couple of your tweets before he tries to get on the air as well. So this is the Gafford and Brown Show. We'll be right back. About the Valpo thing. All right, we're right back with the Gafford and Brown Show. We're gonna read a couple of the how's our status on them? He's almost there.
Oh yeah, just a phone call away.
Just a phone call away. Okay, we're gonna read a couple of the tweets right over here. One of my one of our followers here, Sky Waker, says he has Louisville beating Indiana in the national championship game. Will, not SC Will. You should follow him as well for your sports satire. He has Duke over Miami, which basically is poking a little bit of fun at me here for being a North Carolina fan. And also Jacob A. Cordova says Miami over Louisville. And also one of the people chimed in here, DC _ Fusion. I said this Valpo had an all senior starting lineup, and he said never graduate until 120 credits. So that's gonna be one of those things right there. And we're actually gonna go ahead and try to get Dr. Broussard on the air right now.
We call up a little moment, but we'll be sure to get him
Most
in a minute
definitely.
or two.
Most definitely. We're gonna go ahead and give you guys a little bit of an update going into our show, into the tournament right here. Right now, Butler is beating Bucknell 11-8 with 10 minutes left in the first half. That's in Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. And also one of our other games that we keeping a close eye on, Michigan State is up big against Valparaiso, 30-12. Looks like Valpo is probably going to go ahead and have that first round upset here. We don't see any big time upsets right now. This is with 3 minutes left in the first half.
Right. It's looking like Michigan State that they're just a better team right now, and that sometimes you start seeing the talent differentials in the team. I mean, granted, Valenzuela has the seniors, but I mean, sometimes those recruiting classes show up when you get this far.
And yeah, definitely. And like we said, it's just again the talent gap right here. No parity, no sign of parity in this one. No sign of parity
not right
in this
now.
one here. Especially, so I guess we're just gonna go ahead and keep our eye on the Butler one just in case of
All right, it's Dr.
something happening.
Hello, Dr. Broussard. How you doing? We have Dr. Broussard on our show, the athletic director for Southern University. Doc, how are you? You in Austin right now?
Actually, no, we're in Salt Lake City.
Oh, Salt Lake City. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm still got Northwestern on my brain.
At 2 o'clock, 2:10 actually, 3:10 Central Standard Time. So I'm actually in the Energy Solutions Arena, walking around downstairs, conference and ticket talk for some of our folks who are coming in and just kind of touring the facility.
Right. Now I want to ask you. Right now, things are looking great for Southern University. A tournament appearance. It's a great time for Southern University. I want to ask you. Just how big would this upset be if it were to happen for Southern University? And just like, I just want to get your feelings on that.
Well, I mean, you have to think about it in terms of making history. I mean, anytime you have an opportunity to do something that's never been done before, it's a tremendous opportunity for your team, tremendous opportunity for your university. But Southern has already made history in just getting here. No team in history of the NCAA has actually been issued APP penalties which prevent you from going into postseason because of low academic performance. No team has ever been subject to those penalties and then come back to actually make an NCAA appearance. Southern's already made history just by getting to Salt Lake, by getting to the NCAA regional. So, if we are able to come out on the winning side today and to beat Gonzaga and continue making history, want to make sure that people understand that the history was already made in getting here. So it's exciting, man. This is an exciting time of year. Always great to see all these kids, chasing a lifelong dream to play 4A, NCAA, the Final Four appearance, and for Southern to be a part of that is obviously huge. But they've got the right mindset, the right attitude. Got here 48 hours in advance. We can acclimate a little bit to the altitude, and we're just gonna get out there today and Coach Banks and those guys, I'm sure will do their best and see if we can turn some in.
Right, and you mentioned Roman Banks, who's a great coach and a great, leader of young men. And you look at Gonzaga and you look at Southern, you guys actually have a larger enrollment than Gonzaga University. And it's just funny that, he said that they're the benchmark of where Southern University wants to be. How close do you think Southern University is from being like a school like Gonzaga or Butler to where these appearances are, common, more so common?
Butler institutions like that compete and actually they're not NCAA Division I-A, they're actually NCAA Division I AAA, which means that they are Division I non-football. So institutions like that where basketball is a major sport, gets the fan support, they do homecoming during basketball season. It's sometimes a little easier to generate the kind of crowds in terms of the distance between a program like Southern and a program like Gonzaga's, last year, we get the monkey off our backs. We improved the APR scores. Our student success in the classroom. We have the first winning season in 3 years. Runner up in the SWAC. Made ourselves competitive. Did everything we needed to do this year to get ourselves to the regional. Have a lot of guys that are sitting on the bench for us, or that are in the queue that are going to come out next year, and I think Southern's going to be even stronger. And that combined with a very strong team at UA Pine Bluff and Texas Southern means that SWAC play is going to improve, not just what's going on at Southern. And that's what we need to have happen. The play needs to improve across the conference if Southern is ever going to get to a point of national prominence. The Gonzaga wins 30 games this year and gets a 1 seed. 10 years ago, Gonzaga had done that in their same conference. They'd done a 5 or a 6 seed. You look at a Memphis winning 30 games and getting a 6 seed. The quality of play in your conference dictates, a lot of times how high you can go. So here we are at 23 and 19. That's a 16 seed because of the conference we're playing in. So we not only have to continue to elevate at Southern and play tougher non-conference schedules and knock some of those teams off, like when we defeated Texas A&M this year. We also have to, the rest of the conference has to continue to rise with us. And with Mike Davis coaching down at Texas Southern, we've got the potential for our conference to be much more competitive and work our way up and get the 15 seed, the 14 seed, the 13 seed, and give ourselves better shots of winning first-round games in the NCAA tournament.
Right. Now, like you said, you want Southern to be well-known across the board athletically. The football team had a great season. Just this is your first season as athletic director, and you're changing the attitude at Southern University. Just give me some, impressions on, the football team, volleyball, the other things like that at Southern University that people might not be paying attention to.
Football didn't have a tremendous year overall. We finished 4-7, but we did some very high-profile things that drew a lot of positive attention to the program and led to me making a decision to promote the interim head coach to our full-time head coach, Dalton Odom. Winning photographs and bringing that back to Southern for the first time since 2007. Winning homecoming, beating Florida A&M, the Atlanta Classic on NBC. Those are very high-profile, wins that help with recruiting and help with, help with a lot of those things that are going on. So that helped us, and we got a very strong recruiting class, 27 signees, including a 4-star wide receiver who actually decommitted from LSU. To commit to Southern that has not happened in a very long time. So therefore, it's for success. We've made new hires in men's and women's cross country, soccer, and volleyball. Those coaches are young. They're aggressive. They want to build careers. They don't just want to be black college coaches. They want to be, good black college coaches. They want to be good, college coaches. They want to build careers. And so that's very positive as well. So just trying to hire people with the right kinds of attitude. Right kind of spirit, the right kind of work ethic, and if you put the right coaches in the right condition and give them the right resources, more often than not, they're going to be successful. So that's we're trying to use a pretty simple methodology to identify the kind of coaches that we think will be successful. So.
And Dr. Broussard, this is Lamar Gafford here. We also know that Southern has a very historically pretty good baseball team as well. Could you tell us a little bit of how they're doing as well?
Coach Hito has got off to kind of a tough start this year. We've got we're hampered by a lot of injuries. We've got a couple of very, very strong players on the team, who could be all SWAC performance for us. We just have to get them healthy. Luckily, the kind of injuries that they have, they'll be out for 2 to 3 weeks, but ultimately they'll be fine. They'll be able to play going down the stretch. We have a very tough series this week at Prairie View, defending SWAC tournament champions with the NCAA regionals last year. But I think we'll see what our team's made of this weekend. If they go down to Prairie View and can take 2 out of 3 and then bring them back home for our next home contest in a couple weeks and take 2 out of 3 again, we'll be in very good shape to lead the way in the SWAC West because we are defending SWAC West champions. So, yeah, historically very good program. Coach Hito is an excellent recruiter and an ambassador in the Baton Rouge community, an ambassador really and truly in college baseball. Very proud of the work that he's done. It's been a pleasure working with him. He's an excellent colleague and mentor as well.
Right. Now, I want to ask you, as we're close to wrapping this up, How does it feel to have 3 universities with ties to you in the NCAA tournament?
Uh, Honestly, I'm not thinking about it very much. I'm excited for Coach Miller and Coach McConaughey and their teams and their successes, and for those young men to be rewarded for their hard work. In all honesty, I got to watch a little bit of the Northwestern State championship game, and I'm very happy for Greg. Those guys, Coach McConaughey's gotten close a number of times since 2006. Twice actually while I was working there, and lost the championship game. So, other than being excited for them, the same way I'm excited for a lot of these young men getting this really precious opportunity. I don't think about it a whole lot. My responsibility is to Southern and to leveraging our success. So that's what I've been focused on this last week.
Right. Now, overall, how successful has the Stand United program been since you launched it?
Depends on how you measure success. I think it's something that it's recognizable. It's something that I hear from a lot of other athletic directors that they're kind of trying to come up with that rallying cry to center the organization around, and that we got a head start on it by a year is great. Whatever it takes to motivate student athletes and people to support them. You do whatever it takes. If it means anything, our attendance was up 30% year over year in football, 26% year over year in basketball. Revenues are up, corporate sponsorships are up, engagement seems to be up. Alumni, the alumni expression of support and pride. Those are feeling like they're at highs, over the last decade. So something we're doing is working. Whether that's attributable to the Stand United campaign or to the way our coaches approach their work or to some of the successes we're having on the field, there's no way of telling. But something in there that we're doing is working. So until we figure out what that is, we continue doing everything we're doing.
All right, thank you, Dr. Broussard, for your time. We wish the Southern Jaguars well into today's game, and just wish you well overall in your future there. Thank you again. No problem.
Best of luck. All right, and that was Dr. William Broussard, the athletic director from Southern University, giving us a couple of minutes of his time here. It's just it's just amazing for him to have 3 different ties to this universe, 3 different ties to the NCAA tournament.
Right.
But once again, just really want to help build Southern as a very good program as well.
Right. Because the thing about those other 2 universities that he has ties to, Northwestern State, who got that Cinderella moment in 2006, and they're back in the tournament this year. And, Arizona, a brand name, the D1 school that has a huge tradition in college basketball. They have their success and they have their continued success. Dr. Broussard, on the other hand, has a tough job with Southern, just as he mentioned, making history by getting this school back into the tournament after, overcoming penalties and things of that nature. So he definitely has to put Southern first and put their well-being first, because it's been the tougher road to the tournament compared to Northwestern or Southern. or Arizona.
And it makes you have hope for those teams too, because looking at it, I think ULM was actually hit a couple of years ago, if not I think last year, with the APR having a very low APR. And right now they're trying to get ready to come back a little bit. They're still not doing too well. But we've also seen a team like UConn that was hit with it this year, and that's why they're not in the tournament either. It just makes you think here. Now, of course, you might see a team like UConn might try to come back and all that and stuff. But for a small school from a small conference to come back like that, it just gives you hope.
Right. It gives you hope and lets you, just hard work pays off,
Exactly.
Hard work pays off, recruiting well, building a program from the ground up, and when you get good coaches and good staff, and recruit well, you get rewarded eventually.
Right. I really long for the days also, and he did talk about the conference too. I really long for the days here that, I like the first four, but I really would love to see an HBCU not get into that stage some of those times too. It seems like every single time that they've had the playing game ever since I think 2001, ever since the first one, which ironically your Demons made it. I think all the few here have at least featured one HBCU, and I know it might have something to do with maybe the athletics, and I know it might have something to do with the schedule and all that stuff. But I really hope that one of these days, either the SWAC or the MEAC can not be in that situation, get themselves a pretty good seed and all that stuff too. So,
right, it's only something we can hope for. And like you said, if the SWAC conference gets better overall, it's going to open up the door, for higher seeding, more attention on a national level.
Right. There has been some very good basketball that were played in the conference too. Looking at it, Southern was 23-9. They had a very good game against Prairie View. Texas Southern was a nice team too. Like you said, everybody else just has to get on par, get right back and all that stuff. And like you said, we looked at Southern's schedule here. You saw them beat Texas A&M. Had some very close losses too. So hey, I mean they're battle tested. Just always got to just hope that their success continues to go. Well, all right, we're gonna go ahead and take ourselves another 30-second break. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Broussard, for your time. Great interview as well. We're gonna go ahead and talk about the NBA. Can the Miami Heat be stopped? Gonna go ahead and take a break, and we're gonna discuss that right away after this.
I'm convinced that they just play these games now and they tease these teams, but then they flip a switch.
Exactly. Okay, we're right back with the Gafford and Brown Show. We're going to be talking about a little bit about the NBA right here. Miami Heat. My goodness. If for those of y'all that do not know about them now, they have won 24 games in a row right now. 24 games. During that streak right now, they pretty much have won. They got themselves a playoff bid. They got themselves the Southeast title. And they're right now 11 games ahead of Indiana in the Eastern Conference here. But just really 24 games. And what is your thoughts about that streak?
I think it's amazing. This is the third season together, and we knew that they were capable of being amazing and just a great team. But this is like really breaking, new ground. This is a team that's going to break. I think they're going to break the Los Angeles Lakers record, and their record is old. It's pretty old. It's something that a lot of teams have come close to touching, like the Houston Rockets in 07 and 08.
Right.
But I think the Heat have what it takes to probably go undefeated all the way to the playoffs.
And it's a very good possibility that they can do that. I mean, you're looking at the schedule right now. Up in front of them, I don't see too many teams that probably going to have a chance to beat them until you get to San Antonio, to be honest with you. And that's going to be actually when they get to 29 wins in a row, too, if that happens here. It's just the one thing here. It doesn't really. 24 games is 24 games. And I don't care if you have the souped up team. I don't care if you have the Toon Squad, the Monstars, and all of them. I don't care if you have if all of that. 24 games, just the ability to do that day in, day out, is just impressive. And that's the one thing that a lot of people are looking at this thing. Here's the thing about this: the last time the Miami Heat lost, it was on February the 1st.
Wow.
To Indiana.
And here it is, almost April.
Right. Here's another thing that somebody actually said last night. Ronnie from 2K I think he's one of the developers. I think he's one of the developers of the NBA 2K series. He said this: the Miami Heat have won more games over the last 45 days than the Charlotte Bobcats have won in the last 704.
It's crazy.
It really is, and it's just one of those things that just blows your mind here. And seeing how they did over their last two games, though, it has been a little bit of a stretch. They got in their best punches from their teams when they played against Boston and when they played against Cleveland.
And the Knicks.
And the Knicks as well. And yet they still, withstood those punches.
I think the Boston win was the most impressive this stretch to me.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did they go against a Boston team that has a championship mentality, a team that they really dislikes Miami. And, we saw Boston throw everything at them. Jeff Green came out with a tremendous performance, putting up 40-plus points. Paul Pierce playing his fire basketball. Avery Bradley playing tremendous defense and offense. Just an overall great game. And to watch Miami come back and take that game, it makes you think now. And then to see them last night against Cleveland struggle and then just come back, it makes you think they're playing with these teams. As if they're out just having fun, and then all of a sudden they flip a switch and get serious.
It's kind of crazy.
And that's scary.
It really is. It really is. And we had said, a lot of people said this once before about Miami, that sometimes it feels like they could just turn the switch on anytime they can. Really, just seeing it happen right now before your eyes, down 27 to Cleveland, and then yet you go ahead, you wheel yourself away, and you pull out the win. I mean, normal team, some teams would have just said, hey, you know what? We're just going to basically count our losses right here. We're just going to just say, you know what? We're just not going to worry about it. We're just not going to worry about it. We're just going to focus on the goal as in task right here. We're going to think about, the main goal, trying to get ourselves another championship. But to come right back, to have the pride to come back and to win the game, that just shows to me a whole lot right there. And to be honest with you, I don't see. I might have thought that somebody in the East that probably could have beat them, like Indiana or Boston. I really don't see it happening now. I don't see it happening.
So right now you see the Miami Heat's role being like a clear path to the NBA Finals.
It's pretty much going to be the case. I mean, you got to look at them right here, right now, that their first round matchup, even though they play against Milwaukee, and Milwaukee has given them a little bit of trouble this season, I do not see Milwaukee winning that series. The second round, they're going to be playing against either the winner of the 4-5 matchup, and that's going to be Brooklyn or Atlanta. I don't see Brooklyn or Atlanta beating them. Then we get to the conference finals. It could either be Indiana, which I think Indiana has could have a chance, but I don't see them beating Miami. New York, no, I don't see them doing that. Chicago, unless they miraculously get Derrick Rose back, I don't see that happening. And Boston, which we all know, Boston's up for the belt. They're up for the belt. They're up to, they're pretty much withstanding any challenge here. But looking at that game, I don't see. It just makes me really not think that it's going to happen here. What do you think, Rob?
You know what? That Boston game against Miami was a good. You can't take moral victories to heart, and because you still lost, but you gotta think they didn't have Kevin Garnett that game.
That's a good point.
Kevin Garnett's a good guaranteed 10, 15 points, 10 rebounds. Just the intangibles he brings to the game. The intimidation factor. The intensity. Things like that. So I think that was a good game for Boston to get a measuring stick of where they stand against Miami. And if Jeff Green can play like that in a 7-game series, anything can happen.
Oh man, that's gonna be amazing.
I still don't count Boston out. They have to make it to the finals first. The Eastern Conference Finals first. But I think they're the best team that gives Miami a problem. Indiana, I like Indiana. I like the way they're built. But I think when it comes down to that last shot or that game where they need someone to take over, I still don't think Indiana has that person yet.
Right.
Paul George, a great player, breakout season, sure to be a star, but I just can't see him taking over a game and giving you 10 straight points,
Right.
or, giving you that last second jumper yet,
Right.
not yet. And Danny Granger, I mean, we know what he can do, but he's had, injuries this year. I just think they're one player away.
Exactly. And that's the one thing about Indiana that's going to be that's going to be it right there for them. And right now they're actually going to be playing against this Boston team, so it's going to be interesting to see who takes who to school. I mean, does the old guys here take them to school, or does the young guys here pretty much say something here? You do make up a good point here, and I think Boston does that. If had Kevin Garnett been in this game, who knows? It would have been a little bit of a different story. We wouldn't be talking about a Miami going to 24 games. So you do give them a good point, and I think you really can't count out Boston anyway.
No.
So you got all of this.
Prior to the Rondo injury, I had them, and prior to this Heat run, I actually had Boston. This was early in the year, going to the finals, the NBA finals. But now with so much going on and seeing Miami's dominance, I'm not too certain about that move.
So it just it continues to think here. Can they get all the way up to that 4 seed, like one of the top 4 seeds? I believe they're going to be safe if they do that. And they have, let's see, they've already played 67 games. So they got about 15 games left in the season to do that. They're really 5.5 away from the 2 seed. They're 4.5 away from the Atlantic Division title against New York, and they're also 3.5 away from Brooklyn. So it's possible they can do it. Going back to the Miami streak, I'm gonna run down some of these teams, and we both are gonna say here, can they continue the streak going? Number 25 is going to be against Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with you on that one. That's 25. 26, Charlotte.
Yeah.
I agree with you on
Without a
that
doubt,
one.
yeah.
I agree with you on that one. So that's 26. 27, Orlando.
Yeah.
Agree with you on there. Orlando did give them a tough challenge, but I think, once again, Orlando's a little bit young, so that's 27. 28, Chicago.
Yeah, that'd be Chicago. Chicago's gonna bring it. Noah's gonna bring it. Noah hates Miami. They have a nice little rivalry, but we've seen Houston. I mean, we've seen Chicago get ran off the floor by Houston. We've seen games where they don't show up sometimes. So I think Miami will take that one.
I gotta say so too. A lot of people have said here, why the Bulls need to be off of national TV too. Like,
wow.
Really. But I don't agree with that, to be honest with you, though, too, because they have performed pretty well. 28, yes, Chicago. 29, New Orleans.
Yeah.
Gotta agree.
Scrappy team, but yeah,
Miami's
going to win.
Number 30. Now, number 30 is going to be the big one here. Sunday, March 31st, they're playing against San Antonio at San Antonio.
Right. Now, that's going to be, I think, the biggest game of this streak. Boston was a big one, but Boston they don't have Rondo, who's going off for the season. They don't have Sullinger, and then they don't have Kevin Garnett. So, they're a little banged up at this point. But I think the Spurs are going to be the great test of this streak. Now, if they get past San Antonio, it's almost smooth sailing,
Right.
And I think San Antonio is going to be the hardest team they face probably till the playoffs.
Exactly.
But it's going to be impressive if they beat the Spurs.
Right. And it will be most definitely, because we really don't know too much about the get the water break here. We really don't know too much about the the Spurs and the Heat matching up with each other, because the last few times that we've really seen it happen, especially this year, Pop sat out his starters. So we really don't know.
Game.
Right, and it has a pretty competitive game. So just imagine what could they do at home if they had Duncan, if they had Ginobili, and let's just even say Parker comes back for that game.
Right.
That's going to be interesting to see, and I'm going to keep my eyes glued on that one this Easter to see what happens. After San Antonio, 31 is going to be against the Knicks. 32 is going to be against Charlotte. 33, the record tire is going to be against Philadelphia, and the record breaker, 34, is going to be against Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think after the Spurs, it'll be smooth sailing to a new record held by the Heat.
Mm-hmm. So that's all going to be very interesting. And if they get all the way past to those teams here, we could be seeing the unthinkable happen. They could actually get into the playoffs with a 39-game winning streak because their other 4 games after that after the record breaker, Washington. Well, wait, don't get in it. Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, and Orlando. So those are going to be pretty interesting games in their own rights as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see here what's going to happen in this too. Now, looking at also some more of the did you see that dunk here by LeBron James over Jason Terry?
Yes, and Jason Terry is a guy with a lot of heart, a lot of determination, but gosh, he got a piece of humble pie with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron getting that tick for staring him down, I think is just complete trash. I hate that. I mean, it's just a stare. It's not implying anything other than hey, come harder next time.
I say this when you dunk on somebody like that, when you have a very good play like that, I just think you should be allowed to say anything that you want to say. You should be allowed to say anything you want to say, to be honest with you, because I hate trash talk technicals. I hate them with passion. I'm one of those people that just thinks that things should be flamboyant. You should be allowed to express your opinion without repercussions, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
I mean, as long as you're not being too vulgar. Like, if you're giving somebody the bird, of course you're gonna give them a take for that. I mean, come on now.
Right.
But you should be allowed to really express your expressions in that one too. So.
Now I want to ask you, since we're seeing so much history with the Heat, the first season,
mm-hmm.
they had a nice run, made it to the finals their first year all together. Didn't win, but it was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Second year, win the title. This year, the streak, the possibility of winning a title.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, or could you see any time in the future, the Heat going after the Chicago Bulls 72-10 record?
It's going to be. It can be possible. It can be possible. But here's the one thing that we'll have to see. Do they keep this team intact past next season? Because we all know that LeBron, Wade, and Bosh have I think they have an early termination option in 2014. So it's going to be interesting to see if they all opt out, try to get some more money. And if they all do, the Miami Heat are going to have a little bit of a decision here to make about them trying to get something here. Like, who do they keep? Do you keep LeBron? Do you keep Wade? Do you keep Bosh? Which two do you keep? Who's going to be the odd man left out? So that's going to be the interesting thing. I think it's possible though if they could do it next year. They have the team to do it, and it looks like too that past the first year they have a little bit more. They have better role players now, because now you see people that are willing to see that they see that it works, and some of the people are willing to take that chance.
Right. Now, you mentioned the fact about the early termination, the early opt out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that happening? I don't think it'll happen, but if anyone were to opt out, I think it would be LeBron.
Yes, absolutely.
But do you see that happening?
I think he could if he wants to try to go for more money. If he feels like though that this is the better chance for him to win, of course Miami is going to be the best chance for him to win, without a doubt, because you know that it's working right now. If he wants to be one of those guys that really wants to have a whole lot of money, and he has said it before though, he really believes that he has not taken back's buddy. He really believes that he's worth more than what he's actually making right now, and he definitely is worth more than he's making right now. Um, yeah, he could do it. He could do it. But I think cooler heads might prevail once he realizes here that this is going to be the best. That this is going to be the best chance for him to win. I don't buy into the fact that here that he's teasing everybody and saying, "Okay, well, I could come back to Cleveland. Might come back one of these days." But
What about the Laker
oh, that's going to be
possibility people
interesting.
talk about?
This is going to be interesting here, and it's going to be another sign of the rich get richer. The fact of the matter is, though, I think for that to happen, they're really going to have to do something about Kobe Bryant's contract. And I can't see him really saying, okay, I'm going to take the $1 million minimum here, the veteran minimum, just to say, okay, I'm gonna basically say, okay, LeBron's going to be on my team right here. It would be one thing, though, just to see them on to see him, the white LeBron on the team.
It would be amazing, and you would think you would think who would stop that? It would be a new big three, and it's something that, like you said, is tempting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. LeBron's a character because he does everything with tunnel vision and with marketing and all these other things in mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
It would be interesting to really go out there and see here what happens. And it's just it's amazing that we're saying right now what if a year before that it actually happens, but it's gonna be interesting here just to see. Now we got another team that's really not getting a lot of love thanks to that Miami streak here, and that's the Denver Nuggets. They've won 13 games in a row, but yet nobody's really talking about them because of
No,
Miami streak.
and they have impressive wins. The last win beating the Thunder, just they've looked great beating the Knicks. They're a team that's fun to watch. They're fast. I mean, they have scoring from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And George Corral, one of the last great coaches we have in the league. From the '90s and on. Him and Popovich. They're like the father times of the NBA right now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's definitely not getting enough love.
Not at all. Not at all. We've said this about this team before. We said that a lot of people have picked them as a dark horse. I picked them as a dark horse at the early part of the season. It looks like this is happening right now. They're fifth. They're seated fifth in the West, but they're tied with the Clippers. The Clippers have actually fallen back. They're tied with Memphis in terms of games back. So they could actually move into the 3 seed. It's possible that they could do that. And then just 3 games behind Oklahoma City. It's just amazing here about this team. And they have actually the best home record in the NBA of 30-3. So going to, actually tied with Miami for the best home record, to be honest with you. So we all know going to Denver is going to be tough. That high altitude, all of that. The other thing is going to be how do they play on the road. But I really like this bunch. Andre Iguodala, Ty Lawson, JaVale McGee, Kenneth Reed, Gallinari, Andre Miller. All of those players here, they might not seem like household names. They might not seem like great players. You can make a case for Iguodala probably being a pretty good player, or being a leader of this team. But it's just that the parts, the sum of the whole parts, man. It's just that they're pretty good, and that's what makes them really scary right now.
Right, and it's going to be fun to watch them because, like you said, they can move up and possibly take the second seed if their streak continues, and a couple other things happen. But also, while they're streaking, another thing we're not paying attention to is the fall of the Clippers.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a team that was the 3rd seed. Had potential to take the 2nd seed. Now they're the 4th,
Mm-hmm.
and it's odd. This is a team that a lot of people started picking, as favorites to come out the West and favorites to compete with Oklahoma City. But now they're a 4th team, and things are looking kind of itchy.
Yeah, I believe it's pretty much the same thing too, and that's just going to be again one of those things. Here, I just really think that we said this before, I think, on the show, that if there is one team that's in the top 4 that you would rather play against, I think you would rather play against the Clippers more than anything because It's just that they seem a little bit inconsistent.
Right, and we mentioned their depth, but at the same time, their depth you could say it's been right now lately their Achilles heel because these rotation, a lot of people aren't getting minutes, and then the hot man necessarily isn't getting his minutes, and it's that half court offense they still haven't mastered, and a lot of times their shots aren't falling, so they get kind of panicked, and it forces a lot of more bad shots, especially from Jamal Crawford. So. It's looking tough for them. We'll see how they continue to play down the stretch, and if this is more of a just a phase,
Right, exactly. And it's just that's just gonna be one of those things right there. Because we know if they get the right matchup here, they could actually do pretty well in there. And this could pretty much be a moot point. But I feel like if they get a team that's actually that can slow them down, or maybe run up and down the court against them.
Right. Because what's their projected matchup if the playoffs were to start today?
Right now, it'd be Denver.
Yeah, and I don't think that would help them at all. I think Denver would. I think Denver would beat them.
Right, and the same here. Because it looks like. I think they're going to be safe from playing against either San Antonio or Oklahoma City in the first round.
Right.
They're going to be safe from that. Their possible matchups could be Memphis, which we've seen how they did against them in the first round last year.
Right, 7 games.
7 games, though. But Memphis is very defensive, though, too. And they play a very grit and grimy style of basketball. And they might not allow that to happen again. Denver, as we had just stated before, Golden State, Houston, and the Lakers.
So it's looking kind of bleak for the Clippers. I mean, they're making the playoffs, so that's a good thing. But this is a team with a lot of high expectations. And a team that spent a lot of money this offseason, something that's very, rare from the Clippers with their owner Donald Sterling, who doesn't like to spend a lot of money. So, we're going to see what happens,
right?
And hopefully, they don't fall too far.
Now I know we continue to talk about this here too, but we're also going to talk about their tenants as well, their next door neighbors, the Lakers. And right now, they're actually getting a chance. They're starting to create themselves a little bit of room here.
Right.
I'm actually going to go ahead and say this. I don't know if the Mavericks are going to make the playoffs right now, but the Lakers are actually 1.5 games ahead of Utah for that 8th seed. And it looks like it's kind of going to be getting ready to be a little bit of a foregone conclusion that they're going to make the playoffs.
Right. Considering the fact that the Utah Jazz lost last night and they're on a bit of a downward spiral. So we definitely will see what they're made of. But I'm starting to agree with you that the Lakers pretty much have this 8th seed wrapped up and possibly make some noise for the 7th, maybe.
Right. They're just 1.5 behind Houston for the 7th, and they're actually 2.5 behind Golden State for the 6th.
And it's amazing. It's even more amazing because a lot of these wins are coming right now without Kobe Bryant.
Exactly. And let me ask you also this about that, and since it's been a little bit of a while since we had that show, do you think that foul that Dante Jones had, do you think that was a little bit of intentional foul?
I mean, you never really know, but that's just basketball, and I don't think his intention was to hurt Kobe, but probably to send a message. But it happens in the game of basketball, and I don't think it was dirty. I wouldn't say it was necessarily intentional, but it was meant to send him to the line,
right,
and earn his point. So it is what it is, and Kobe's gonna be back. They're still hanging in there. So I don't see too much harm in it. Now, if he tore his ACL or something like that, then maybe you can make that case. But rolled ankles happen, sprained ankles happen.
Exactly. Let's see, and let's also go ahead and run down here what the playoff matchups would be right now if the season were to end today, because we're pretty much getting close to that time here.
Right.
And once again, like we said, and just also to add in here, I feel like the LA Lakers should also make it to that 6th seed. They should avoid San Antonio and Oklahoma City at all costs. But I think they have a better chance against San Antonio.
Right.
But with that said, here's the matchups that the playoffs would have started today: Miami and Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Miami got
Miami
that.
is possibly.
Pretty much. Indiana and Boston.
Ooh, tough one.
And the Celtics lead the series.
I would see Boston winning that in 6.
I think Boston pretty much win that in 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
Knicks and Chicago.
Knicks in 5.
Yeah. Even though the Bulls have the series 3-0.
Wow.
That shocked me. Knicks in probably 6. Knicks in 6. Brooklyn in Atlanta.
That's going to be a close one. Now, Atlanta has been rolling as well. Jeff Teague had a tremendous game last night, putting up 27 points. Al Horford's having a great season as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Josh Smith is coming in and out. I'm split on that one. I think I would go with Atlanta in the long run. I would say Atlanta in 7.
I'm probably gonna go ahead and say the Nets just to create a little bit of a difference here.
Right.
Mostly because of home field advantage. Mostly because of that. So I'm just probably gonna go ahead and say that here. In the West, San Antonio and LA.
That's tough because the Lakers match up well with the Spurs. Kobe will be back by then, but also Tony Parker will be back by then as well. I'm going with the Spurs. Spurs in 7.
Same here. The Lakers at full strength is going to be interesting to see with the Spurs if the Spurs get to full strength as well. So that's going to be interesting to see. And right now, a little bit of an update on the show too. Butler is now leading 24-14 there in the second half. Another good matchup here, OKC and Houston.
Great matchup. I see OKC and maybe 6, probably 5, because Houston, I don't think they can hit those shots every game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think OKC has just as much firepower. I'm going with 5, maybe 6.
I'll go with 6. OKC is going to pretty much beat Houston. You're going to see a lot of high-powered offense in this game here. It's just the one thing also about Houston. For as many points as they get in the game, they're going to give up a lot of points.
Exactly.
Contrasting styles in this matchup right here: Memphis and Golden State.
Gosh, that's a tough one. I got to go with Memphis. They're the more veteran team. They also can slow the game down. Like you mentioned earlier, they play great defense.
Mm-hmm.
Golden State, on the other end, they're more of they can get shot happy sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They're scrappy, but I just couldn't see them beating Memphis in a 7-game series right now.
Memphis in 5.
Yeah, Memphis in 5.
Golden State, they're going to get some good experience. I hope they continue to build upon that experience. Memphis in 5. And LA and Denver. Clippers in Denver.
I say Nuggets in 7.
Yeah, Nuggets in 7 as well. Like I said, it's just that this team, I really think that this team has a good chance to make some noise in the playoffs.
Right.
And given the right matchups, I think they can actually try to do something here.
Yeah, they, like you said, with the right matchup, I think they could even sneak into the Western Conference Finals. But we would have to see. I mean, like you said, given on the matchup, they're a fun team to watch. Fast, shooters everywhere, inside presence. I like that Nuggets team.
Most definitely. And also, as we just also mentioned here, the lottery teams and all that stuff. Andrew Bynum, his season pretty much over before it even started.
And that's so unfortunate for this Philly team. They put a lot into this season. They put a lot of, last year they made the playoffs, had a fun series against Miami, showed a lot of heart. And this year we see them struggle like this. Even though they got an all-star appearance out of Drew Holiday, who's had a great season, statistically, that's not what they had in mind. This is a team that had the playoffs in mind, probably going to the second round. That's why they made the move by him and to see that.
Right.
Now, I want to ask you, do you think Bynum is due back next year? And do you think any team's going to take a chance on him longer than 1 year. Longer than a 1 year deal.
No, I really don't think so in this case, because right now you're 25. He's as old as us right now.
Right.
We're just 25 years old and he has bad knees. Like, for real, man. I don't see anybody giving him more than a 1 or maybe even a 2-year deal if they really want to get happy about this. We had said this before all the injuries, that Andrew Bynum could have been a max player if he would have been healthy.
Right.
But because he possibly could have been either the best center, I mean, that's going to be in this free agent class, him or the White, and depending on if the White stays. But I really don't think nobody's going to give him more than 2 years. Nobody's pretty much going to give him more than 1 year, to be honest with you, because you don't know how it's going to happen. And like we said, Philadelphia really had some high hopes about this player, and I think this guy could have made them, push them into the playoffs, but just to see that happen is just unfortunate.
Right. It is very unfortunate. Like I said, this team that made the playoffs last year. Stole a game from Miami in the playoffs. Showed a lot of hard-nosed games. Looked competitive. Looked like they'll be back next year. And they made the necessary moves to put themselves into contention, but it didn't work out. And now you just waiting to see if Bynum can show flashes of health. Maybe it's tricky.
Now the one thing here about this that you can say about this Philadelphia team is at least they could create some cap space. They could get themselves a very good free agent. They might be pretty much players here. In hindsight, though, you think they should have made the move, or you think they should have just been like?
Of course, you want now looking back at it, you think they should have stayed pat. But I think, honestly, I would have stayed pat anyway. I think I would have made more effort to get a bargain deal instead of Bynum, because Bynum, he's a great player. We know that, but he's had a history of knee injuries. Like the writing's been on the wall. This is a guy that the Lakers were trying to ship because I think honestly they knew that Bynum's knees were questionable. Right. His attitude also, the 2011 foul to JJ Barea.
Oh man.
The foul to Barea. The comments about ATMs being in any city.
The 3-point shot.
The 3-point shot. Him and Mike Brown's relationship. So it was clear that, he wouldn't be in LA long, and that they were trying to ship him, and that his knees were also a factor. So now we look and we see him sitting out the entire season.
Right.
And I think it's a move I wouldn't have made if I were Philadelphia. Granted they wanted to, take that leap, but, this is a guy that had, like I said, knee problems, attitude, things like that. I don't think I would have necessarily made the move. Not yet. Maybe wait until he was a restricted free agent.
Most definitely. So, and actually Clarence says something to say. He's here. He said, y'all forgot about Philly taking the C's to the limit last year. Most definitely. We forgot about that.
I did forget about that one. I was more so thinking about them in Miami a while back. But yeah, you're right. They did take Boston 7, but everybody takes Boston to 7. Really, go back to that championship season when Boston went against Chicago and Derrick Rose, and one of the most fun series I've ever seen against in the first round. Then I think they played the Hawks 7 games.
7 games.
And but everybody takes Boston. I don't know what it is with Boston in the playoffs, but they always go 7 games.
Hello?
And that's fun. But great point, Clarence. You're right. But I hate that this deal fell apart for them with Bynum and his knees. But like I said, the writing was on the wall that Andrew Bynum has durability issues, and he still got a jacked up attitude.
Right.
Because he made the comments about, I'm 25, so, I got to look out for me. When asked about his knee, could he come back this year?
And then in the hair.
Yeah, in the hair. Yeah.
I cannot overlook the hair. I feel like that one of these days he's gonna come out there busting out with a Jerry curl.
Right. He might bring the Jerry curl back. But one thing that's funny to see in this lottery board is the Dallas Mavericks. Now, do you think Dallas should blow it up or just keep Dirk and try to put pieces around him still?
I don't think they should blow it up. I don't think they should blow it up. I really think here that I hope Dirk Nowitzki really retires as a Maverick, and I think they have the team here. It's just all in the matter here. Can they get younger and stuff like that too? Um, they got OJ Mayo, so that's a very good second piece right there. It's just it seems to me here. Mike James has played pretty well, but I would really love to see Collison be more of a starter instead of being a backup. But then again, Collison's been pretty good off that role too. It's just also going to be one of those things. What did they do in the free agency next year? And I really hope that they probably can try to somehow get Andre Iguodala. I really think that he could be a player that could help out this team a whole lot. He would be a guy that they need, and he pretty much is unselfish, and you can actually build a pretty nice team around.
You don't
Dirk.
think he's going to stay in Denver?
I think he could stay in Denver though too. I would love for him to be though in Dallas. I would love for him to be in Dallas. Iggy's just one of my favorite players.
Right. I've been a fan of his since his days in Arizona as well. But the thing about Dallas is that they're not bad.
Yeah.
I watched them several times this season. They were competitive against. They were very competitive against the Thunder three times this season.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them. We saw them beat the Lakers early in the season without Dirk. I mean, they have some nice wins.
Right.
You know, it's just been somewhat of a struggle, and you know, we'll see things shape up for them soon.
Yeah, I really think so too. I really think so too as well. So, you know, anything can pretty much happen. It's just that, again, you're in the West. And I think that's what it's really going to come down to here. You're in the West, and when you're in the West here, you could be a team that could be 500 and not make the playoffs.
Right.
But if you're in the East, you could be a 500 team, and you could wind up as the 7, 8, or even the 6 seed.
Yeah. This is the East. The East just really got, you know, good representation again. 'Cause not too long ago, you had teams, you know, with under 500 records, you know,
Right.
being 7 seeds. You know, so yeah, the East is shaking back a little bit. But
Right.
I want to ask you, what team is a dark horse in the playoffs right now? Give me your East and West dark horses.
East dark horse. I don't know if you can really consider Boston as a dark horse. But given the seed right now that they probably are. I really think that Chicago could be a dark horse, though.
Right.
There definitely can be one, and they would definitely be one if they get Derrick Rose back.
Yeah, and I don't think Derrick Rose coming back.
Right.
But like I agree with you with Chicago because if you look at this current matchup with Chicago playing New York.
Right.
I think New York would win the series, but I would not be shocked at all one bit if Chicago beat them in first round.
Right.
Because Chicago's a scrappy team. They play defense. I don't like watching them play on national television without Derrick Rose, but they're scrappy.
Right.
And, you know, with Noah, you know, capable of putting up big games, I mean, you know, who knows?
Uh-huh. And Clarence says Chicago also.
Yeah, I agree
In
with
the
Chicago. And you know, Denver's scary.
Yes.
They're scary as hell, man. Ty Lawson, arguably the fastest point guard in the league. You got Winston Chandler putting up 30 games every other night. Andre Miller, even though he has that old man game, he still can get buckets. You know, McGee, you know, a lot of people make fun of him, you know, his mental aptitude, all that, but the guy is really learning the game, and he's playing better. They're fun to watch. And George Karl knows how he couldn't be more happy to have Carmelo Anthony gone. Yeah, he got guys that can listen to him now. They take what he say, you know, they listen to him, they pay attention. If they act up, hey, I'll just switch you out for another guy that can give me 20 points.
Right.
You know, he got a leader in Andre Iguodala. I think he's on cloud 9. I think if he had the chance, he would have made the Carmelo deal way faster if he could have got this in return.
Right. I think I say the same thing about that. Denver's the dark horse. Denver has to be a dark horse in this whole thing. That streak is one thing.
Right.
Like we said, the matchups are going to be another thing. Right here, they got them playing against the Clippers. I think they can win.
They can beat the Clippers, and I would want them. I think them beating the Clippers would be one of the best things for the NBA since LeBron went to Miami.
Mhm.
Because here you have a small market team with no real superstar
Mhm.
beating a team that's in a big market and has two major superstars.
Right.
I think that would be a great look for the NBA if Denver would put
Definitely.
out the Clippers.
Definitely. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up with that segment right there, unless you have anything else to say. Oh, we're going to actually talk to Brady Renard right after the show. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much for the inbox right here too. So we're going to talk to him after our 30-second break. He's going to talk to us a little bit about the Demons and about other Louisiana sports as well. This is the Gafford and Brown Show. We'll be right back. We're right back with the Gafford and Brown Show. We're trying to get Brady on the show as well. But first, let's give you guys a little bit of an update right now. Michigan State is up 56-40 over Valparaiso in the second half, and 5 minutes to go right there. So we pretty much can say here Michigan State's going to win this game in this one. And also, taking a look at the Butler game, 29-26, a little bit of a low-scoring matchup. 14 minutes left in the second half. Going to keep an eye out on that one. Some more games here as well. Let's see. I don't see anything else right now, so we're going to try to continue to keep those updates coming. Right now, once again, we're trying to get Brady on the phone. Let's see here. So we're still trying to get him on the phone. Hey, Brady, how you doing?
Doing good. How y'all doing?
I'm doing all right. We're glad to have you on the show once again for us too.
No problem. It's an honor.
Once again, this is KTVE, the sports reporter from KTVE, Monroe's NBC affiliate, Brady Renard, on the phone with us. And once again here, he's an alumnus of Byrd, and he's actually an alumnus of Northwestern. So pretty much we get the best of both worlds here a little bit on this one.
Absolutely. Community Byrd High School. Those alumnus, and then 3 years later graduated from the Northwestern State, the one that actually made the tournament.
Most definitely. First of all, I just really want to ask you this. What do you think about the Demons making it into the tournament? Because I actually asked Rob about how he felt too, and he's, everything is just beaming right now about the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not really a surprise in terms of if you follow the team a lot this year. I haven't gotten to see him play too much. The only game I've gotten to see was the last SFA game of the championship. But just following him, it's really not surprising in terms of you knew what you had with the team, and it's too easy to make comparisons to 2006 because of a lot of the research that I've done, eerily similar. Mm-hmm. But you knew it was going to come down to SFA or Northwestern State, and we took 2 of 3, so that was pretty awesome.
Right, and this is Robert, by the way. I followed this team pretty closely, being in Natchitoches, following Northwestern. And I went to Louisiana Tech game, and that game to me was like the litmus test, like letting me know that this team is real and they have potential, to go to the tournament. And watching the SFA game, I was really impressed. Which player on the team, are you most impressed with, and you think is going to have a breakout game?
Yeah, it's hard to say because that McCarthy system, they have 10 guys that rotate in and play at least 15 minutes a game.
Right.
So, it's hard to say. I think you're going to have to probably rely on guys like Shamir Davis, Daquan Hicks, some of your older guys. But don't count Jalen West, the kid from Bossier.
Right.
He should have played last year. Academics had him sitting back a year, so he's still a freshman, and he's been really good this year. I think he's the third leading point getter. So it's really... It's going to be hard to say. It's going to be everybody. I don't know if there's going to be one guy that breaks out, especially in the McConaughey system. So you're going to need what they've continued to do, and that's have everybody score a little bit of points. But this Florida team, this is a good team.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Now now it's and funny that you do mention that. Here's the question that I have for you on this one, Brady. Do you think that they can actually upset Florida and maybe get a chance to go to the second round, a la 2006?
Money wise, my bracket, I have Florida in the championship. That's how good I
Whoa.
think Florida.
Even
And I know a couple of other people have been winning it. I'm heading to Austin tomorrow morning, so I'm hoping that we actually can with me there. Maybe it's the Magic, but Florida's a good team, man. What they do really well, they're eighth in the nation in field goal percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what they do. They get their open looks and they miss them. Asking the LSU fan, and you saw it just a couple of weeks ago, when they can't miss. They don't miss from 3 points. They don't miss, the 18-footers. They make anything that they need to. So that's going to be the biggest deal is Northwestern State's going to have to play better defense than what they're used to playing. I think they average they allow 71 a game, so they're going to have to hold. If they can hold them to 71, I think that they have a chance. But holding Florida to 71 is going to be a tough task, and I think it's not likely. But I'm hopeful. I don't think it's definitely a harder matchup than what Iowa was in 2006.
yeah,
I'll say that.
yeah, I agree with you being a harder matchup. Now that game last week, Florida had against Ole Miss didn't scare you a little bit from
Ole Miss has a couple of guys that are some ballers,
right.
and that can put up, that can score 20 points a game, no problem. As good as NSU is in terms of as a team, I mean, 81 points a game is pretty impressive, number one in the nation. There's no guy that'll take over a game. That's the way McCarthy's system goes. He doesn't like that type of player. He likes guys who rotate, their assists are really high. This is what it's going to be. If Florida plays their best, there's no chance. And as much as an NSU fan, and how much I don't like saying that, if they play their best, there's no chance. But NSU's best when they're pressuring the ball, they have 9.8 steals a game. That's in the top 10 of the nation. So when they're pressuring the ball and they're making the shots they need to, they're going to have to get better free throws. 68% free throw shooting is not going to get. It's not good. What's going to win that game? But if you can get a little bit of an off day from Florida and you're pressuring them on defense, forcing them to make turnovers, I think NSU does have a chance. It's just not likely.
Right. Do you think a shootout would favor Northwestern to win this game if it was a running gun type of game?
Against most teams, yes. If it's fast-paced consistently, I think Northwestern State could have an advantage because, like I said, they do a really good job pressing the ball. You watch that FFA game, that's the they had a chance to win, and they stole it with just seconds left. So that's the type of physicality that teams play with. They have under McConaughey, and they continue to show that. So I think if it's a fast-paced, they can keep it fast-paced. I think they've got a chance because they can score. It's just Florida's going to continue to try to set their offense. They can get them out of rhythm and make them take shots and maybe not set each other up. I think they do have a chance. That might be their best opportunity to win this game.
Now, another team from Louisiana that's doing pretty well right now, Louisiana Tech. They're not in the tournament, but yet they're in the NIT. And they had a very good showing against Florida State, winning 71-66. What do you have to say about this Tech team, during the season and stuff, and what do you think their chances of making it out of the NIT as well?
Yeah, this is probably the team that I've watched more than any team this season. I've been covering them in Weston every Thursday and Saturday night. I was there anytime that they were home. And this is a team that really is similar to Northwestern in terms of there's not one guy that takes over the game.
Right.
But they do it opposite. They're all defense. They're going to pressure you. They have some really good defenders. 2 guys, first team, all WAC defenders. And Kenneth Smith and Raheem Apple, they do a good job. I really like Kenneth Smith's court vision. He's done a great job this year getting the balls to his open. They also have a talented freshman as well, Alex Hamilton. So, in terms of them making it out, I think it's going to be tough. I think they were very fortunate facing Florida State. I think Florida State is a great team, not fortunate in that aspect. But talking to a lot of the Seminoles before the game, they were wondering where their motivation comes in. They said, we're a tournament team. We're an NCAA tournament team the past couple of years. Now all of a sudden we're playing in the second best tournament.
Right.
They said we're going to have to find motivation somehow. So that was something that played into their hands. But now they get number 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken, number 1 seed.
Sudden miss.
Southern Miss on Monday.
Yeah.
So that's a game that I think that they have a big chance of winning because they beat them earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of getting out of the NIT, I think that was really their toughest test. I think Florida State did lead it all.
Right.
And outside of that, I think they're as talented as anybody else in the NIT.
Right. And I actually got a chance to attend that Northwestern versus Louisiana Tech game. And like you said, it was fun to watch, and they both have the same type of styles. And Appleby's just a terrific player to watch. And it was a close game down to the fourth. And, both teams eerily, resemble each other. So Tech had a great chance of, going to the tournament, being in the same position as Northwestern.
Yeah, that was just a really disappointing way to collapse.
Right.
They ended the season with 3 consecutive losses after winning 18 straight games, the longest in Louisiana Tech history.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing some really impressive things, and then the way their schedule was, it's very similar to the way the football team's schedule was. Your 2 hardest games ended up being your last 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
In conference. And so that was very unfortunate for Louisiana Tech to have to go to New Mexico State and have to go to San Jose State. So, and they get into the tournament. UTSA, a former Southland team, ended up just having a good game. And I think that they were just kind of a little big on themselves. They were kind of giving themselves too much credit. They didn't have that underdog mentality that they had throughout the whole regular season. All of a sudden, they felt like they were favorites, and then that's where they ended up fighting when that mentality starts changing. So I think they went back to that underdog mentality against Florida State. So they can keep it. I do like their chances. But yeah, they're definitely very similar with Northwestern State in terms of letting everybody kind of get a piece of the action.
Exactly. And so, talk to us a little bit. Let's see. You have any questions?
Since you're a fellow Demon, how do you feel about the new regime coming over the NSU football program?
I like the hire. I thought it was. I remember we hired him as the number 6 defensive line coach just a couple of years back. And anytime you can get a guy that was a former head coach to be just an assistant or to be a coordinator is always huge. So they were beginning to kind of groom him, I think. And it was unfortunate. There was 2 other picks before Thomas that I'm pretty sure that the Demons wanted instead, but we had to opt with Thomas, and he may end up being the best decision of all. He had a pretty couple of good years at Nicholls State, good guys like Darius Webb into the NFL. So obviously he has a good knack of finding some talent. And as much as I like Bevo's intensity and what he did in the community and whatnot, I don't know if he had the respect of his players. And I think that's ultimately what you saw during the regular season. You don't go 0-11 and everything be okay.
No.
They had a couple of years after, 2, 5, and 6 years. I joke all the time. I was there for 6 semesters. We won a total of 10 games.
Right.
So obviously I leave and everything seems to go up in Demon Land. So hopefully that trend continues this next season.
Right. And the crazy thing about it is when Stoker was let go, he went on to have, pretty good success, with the rival, Sam Houston, and now and then we had those struggles, so it was pretty depressing. And now we get this clean slate, so things appear to be looking up.
I think so. You're gonna have to find a quarterback certainly after Brad left. It's gonna be tough in terms of finding that. But I think Thomas is gonna bring a good intensity on the defense, which we had under people. I'll give him credit. I think our defense was very underrated. I think it's just our offense was so anemic. It really, I guess you could say, kind of shaded the whole team as bad. But the defense has been good. They put a guy in the NFL 4th round draft pick from Seattle last season. So there was talent there, and I think that they'll continue to be. I just think that this offense, we find a good offense, and I think we've got a good chance to compete. But man, Houston, that's going to be a tough test for the next couple of years.
Right. And while we're on the topic of Northwestern, this Northwestern State baseball team took it to 13 innings with LSU, and almost came out with a victory. LSU, who's number 3 in the nation right now. Have you been following the baseball team?
Yeah, we follow. I haven't been following NSU's team that much. I just kind of check in here and there. But,
Right.
But no, LSU has been playing well. They, for the most part, you've seen a pretty good intensity phone. Mason Katz has been going off. I think he has 7-8 different home runs just this month alone. He got a National Player of the Week last week for the SEC. So it's just, they've been playing really well. And so anytime that you can see the Demons take a nationally ranked team to extra innings, I mean, that's pretty impressive, especially coming up in the 8th to knock the RBI to tie the game at 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first place, it's pretty impressive. But LSU closer this season is a former CE Bird alumni as well, Chris Cotton.
Oh yes, and I do know. I think I do know him because actually I'm friends with his brother. Kyle.
I've struck out enough against him in batting practice, so he's the real deal.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, another college baseball team I really want to talk about too, since you're right there in Monroe, was ULM, and we all know that ULM had made it to the tournament last year. So far, they started off a little bit, kind of shaky a little bit. Do you think that this team has the chance to make it to another tournament once again this year, rated?
I don't want to say no, but it wasn't expected. They lost a lot of talent off of last year's team.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to a couple coaches and whatnot, they expected them to have some rough stretches early on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to depend on them starting to be able to beat some of the bigger teams that they play. They played Lafayette, who's on the brink of being ranked as well, and got swept.
Right.
But game 1 was a blowout. Game 2 was a bit closer. Game 3 they lost in the last inning. So they begin to get more competitive maybe as they start to realize a little bit about themselves, and they're starting to figure out what they're good at, what they're not. So right now, I don't like their chances. But once that Sun Belt tourney hits and they start getting the chance to be able to win some games, you can't count them out because I think that they have a couple of guys that might be able to help them get there. So while the chances aren't good right now, I think because of how good Lafayette is, I don't think you can count them out because in baseball, anybody can win on any given day.
Definitely. All right. Well, we're glad to have you on the show, Brady, and like I said, we continue to hope that we could have you on the show in the future as well.
Absolutely. Give me a call anytime you need.
All right.
Let's hope that the Demons pull off the upset against the Gators, huh?
All right.
Welcome. Most definitely. All right. And so, let's see. Right there. And so, that's pretty much was Brady Renard, sports reporter for KTVE 10 in Monroe, Louisiana. Once again, great insight as well from a former Demon.
Right. And it's just good to, hear the opinion, hear some insight. I struggle with that too. I picked them over Florida. I went with my emotions, but like you said, if Florida comes out, playing, motivated ball, I'm sure they're still pissed off about that Ole Miss loss. It could get ugly. It has the potential to get ugly, but I think Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the system they have in place and the players ready, I think Northwestern has a chance to win that game.
Oh, definitely. It could pretty much happen. It could pretty much happen.
But I wouldn't be shocked neither if Florida just came out with that FU mentality, especially against losing to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And, try to blow Northwestern out. I wouldn't be shocked either. But,
mm-hmm.
That's the way the tournament goes. Crazy things can happen,
Definitely. We're going to go ahead and take ourselves another 30-second break. We're going to pretty much wrap up the show at that point in time, talk a little bit about the free agent signings in the NFL. So, this is going to be pretty interesting also to tell about that. So, we'll be right back in 30 seconds. All right, we're right back with the Gafford and Brown Show. We're basically going to wrap things up here about this. We've got a couple of big-time news as well. Actually, Clarence says he's gonna join us.
Oh yeah, I knew it was coming. The Greg Jennings sign.
Oh, please join us. Join us, Clarence.
Yeah,
join
Greg
us.
Jennings, so he's excited.
Join us. You know what? I'm gonna call him right now.
Yeah, he needs to let some of that excitement out.
So first of all, right off the bat, we're gonna talk about the Greg Jennings signing here. Clarence, how you doing? I think you might be a little bit behind.
Well,
Hey, what's up?
Oh, come on, Rob. That shirt ain't gonna work, Robert. Come Sunday, that shirt ain't gonna work. I have to beat y'all Sunday.
Hey, football mostly though. Football.
Okay, you're right about that. We can't do
Right. But hey, here's the thing though. I picked Minnesota to go to the Final Four. I got them in the Final Four.
Yeah, one of my, as I call the BS bracket, I can't really say what bracket it is, but I got them going there too. But I got them going as far as the Sweet 16. I think they helped us out. They helped us out tremendously by letting us play UCLA and Florida. In the second round.
I want to know. Everybody's picking Minnesota to beat UCLA. Do you think that's jinxing Minnesota?
I think it is. If Minnesota, to get out of a slump, this is probably the best opponent Minnesota could have drawn out. If this was Oregon or Cal itself, I think I would probably say, I think it's over for them. Look, UCLA looked like they wanted to go home weeks ago. And he's ready to end this now so he can get ready to go to the league. So he can go ahead and do them pre-draft workouts and he can go to the league because he's ready for this to be over with.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, they're this close to saying, screw you, Ben Holland, get out of here.
Right.
It's to the point that it's just not looking good for them. And as for Minnesota, I think they've underachieved all year. This is the draw they got now. This could be Tubby's reprieve. Because obviously, right now, they're really talking about getting rid of him. I mean, they're talking about walking him out the door. So if he obviously loses this next game, I have to almost think that they will try to go in that direction.
Sadly.
Find a coach like that. But I think this is his reprieve time. I think you almost have to win this one. This is almost like a gift wrap to you. Like this is a gift wrap saying here's the round of 32 right here for you right now.
Right.
Now, let me go ahead and ask you here on this one. You're in our bracket challenge as well, and so is Brady. Who do you have winning? And who's your Final Four teams?
I got Louisville, Ohio State on that side of the bracket. And on the other side of the bracket, I have Kansas and Miami. I think, like I said, Ohio State, again, I think Miami and Ohio State, for them not to be number one seeds, which maybe for Ohio State, number two was suitable. But for Miami, obviously, we all know they got jobs.
Yeah.
Actually, for them to be a number two seed in the bracket that they're in now, I think is better than for them to be the number one seed in the bracket that Gonzaga's in now. Because I mean, right now you have Wisconsin, Ohio State, and I think you got Kansas State over there too. So you got some heavy hitters over there that could have sent Miami home a lot earlier than they have to. Whereas they're in a bracket now with Indiana, which to me, again, obviously, I think CBS did an interview with the guys with one of the people who from the committee, and they said Indiana was going into the Big Ten tournament was the number one team, and now they went to the number three number one seed, and right now they're still shaky to me. And I don't know how the hell Kansas got the second number one seed.
Oh man,
brand name, baby.
I don't know.
Brand name like Pepsi.
Basically,
that's what it is.
Basically, I have them going out in the second round to Carolina.
Now, what made you pick Kansas to go to the Final Four? With your feelings about them not deserving the number one seed?
Well, not the second number one seed.
Well, yeah, the second number one seed.
I'd have been okay with that, but I mean, I don't think they should be number one seed, but anyway, they are. And just that region they're in is just, I don't see. Only other way is that, of course, they've matched my goal first, then I might have myself for picking it. But I just
Absolutely.
don't see. I mean, even if they match Florida, Georgetown could take them out. But after looking at it, I just thought maybe Kansas the experience that Kansas have on that team probably would outweigh Georgetown there.
Mhm.
I was tempted to pick Georgetown on it, but I just at the end of the
Yeah, I was tempted to pick Georgetown too, but I thought about the Syracuse loss. I was like,
Yeah, then the loss in the Big East tournament, I was like, then I just said, you know what, experience-wise, Kansas has been here. They were here, last. I said that team was still here, so I said they should be fun.
right. Now you have Louisville winning the whole thing.
I got Louisville winning the whole thing. Although they have really had some very shaky, they had some very shaky losses here. Only reason why I got them winning the whole thing is because I think where Duke and Michigan State are on that side of that region right there, they're gonna have to beat each other up. They're gonna have to beat each other up to get to Louisville.
Right.
I think Louisville has that pretty much easy way to get through if they play their cards right. So it's more like getting to that matchup where I actually have Michigan State beating Duke. So getting there to that round, and a lot of that has to do with Michigan State being pretty much in their own backyard playing that game.
Right.
They'll win that game. I think Louisville as well. I think they're in Indianapolis for that Midwest region or whatever. That's in their backyard too. And I just got a feeling that they should get to the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree with you too. There,
Yeah.
like with Michigan and Duke pretty much beating each other up. Leaving Louisville to get the weaker. It sets up well for them. Now, switching tides a little bit to football. We talked about this the last time you were on the show about Minnesota looking to get Greg Jennings. How did you feel? What did you do when you heard the news? I'm sure.
Well, at first I kind of thought maybe he would go back to Green Bay, and if that's the case, I was really going to go we're out of luck because we had 3 wide receivers coming into the free agency. We had 3 wide receivers we were eyeing on: Mike Wallace, Jennings, and Dwayne Bowe. Once the Alex Smith trade happened, I pretty much said Debo's not going anywhere.
Right.
And Andy Reid pretty much wanted Debo to stay, so that worked out. So they gave him whatever they wanted to give him to stay. So that's what happened. Mike Wallace. At first, I thought maybe we would try to attempt to go into a bidding war with him because remember on that first day of free agency, the Vikings went through their roster and started slimming and cutting people that I didn't think they would cut.
Right.
Especially Antoine Winfield. I didn't let him go. Well, like whoa. So they went through and made those cuts there, and it's like, they're doing a bidding war with somebody. And then obviously after I heard reports that Green Bay was only going to give him $10 million for one season or something, like almost some crazy number like that. Something crazy like that. It was like, if he really wanted to stay in Green Bay, he would have already, it wouldn't even came this far. He would have resigned back in October. He would have just stayed there, and that's what it would have been. So I said, you know what? Then he came to Minnesota. And the backstory I heard behind this was that Brett Favre was on the phone with him when he got off the airplane. So obviously at that point, you knew then he wasn't leaving. He wasn't going to leave Minnesota without signing a contract. And of course, he left, and then eventually he came back and signed. So,
Right.
So I guess thanks to Favre on that one for Minnesota.
Yeah. Now, with that signing, where does this put Minnesota in your power rankings as far as y'all division goes?
Well, okay, obviously we finished second last year. Chicago, as I said, I think I told you a few weeks ago, Chicago is a big question mark.
Yeah.
This goes back to, I think, in 2008, I think it was the Bears, Vikings, and Packers. Favre had already left. This is when they were switching to Aaron Rodgers. We kind of knew then the Packers would take a step back. Minnesota and Chicago were the 2 teams there, and I said that wherever Bernard Berrien went between the 2 teams is where the power was going to switch, and that's what happened because I think once Berrien left them and came to us, he gave us a receiver that we never had, that we didn't have, and he left Chicago with nothing.
Right.
This is a litmus test for Aaron Rodgers. Remember now, when Aaron Rodgers took over, he had everything was laced to Brett Favre. These are the last 2 receivers, in Jennings and Driver, that are laced to that whole Favre era. This is it. They're gone. So now we're really about to find out how good are you? Because I've always said Jennings was a big security blanket for Rodgers, and we saw earlier in the season last year, Rodgers they struggled a little bit there a little bit. Now I mean they got it together towards the end, but they struggled a little bit though, and this is going to be a big test for him. As for Minnesota, this obviously gives Christian Ponder a bona fide number 1 guy to go to, a guy that he knows when the game's in the crunch time, I can drop back and I know there's Jennings. I know the defense is going to respect Jennings. Now They brought back Jerome Simpson, which I think as a number 2, he should do better this time. He should. We're hoping he should do better. He doesn't have a suspension to worry about this time unless he gets caught doing something crazy again, which I hope he doesn't. But obviously, Kyle Rudolph in the Pro Bowl has shown people now. Oh yeah, he's a big threat down there as well. So it all really depends on what we do in the draft. But right now, I guess early indications. For me, I would have to give Minnesota probably the slight nod on possibly winning the NFC North this year. I think Green Bay is definitely second. Chicago's third. Detroit, although with the Reggie Bush thing, Detroit, I'll tell you what, if they have a good draft with some of their defensive holes in Detroit, I could put them at third. But right now, I'll keep them down at the bottom of the barrel. But as I told you guys before, I see this division. I see no one losing no more than 9 games in this division. I mean, winning, I guess, 7 games or more in this division. So
I really also think too, looking at it as well, that you guys lose Percy Harvin. You traded him away to Seattle, but you also get some very good pieces back for him. And I feel like that you guys are probably going to go ahead and try to look for a receiver in the draft, maybe like a Tavon Austin from West Virginia. What are your thoughts here of who they're going to get in the draft?
Well, Austin was one of the few people that we were. Keenan Allen was somebody that I thought maybe they should get as well. I thought Keenan Allen. I think in the maybe third or fourth round. Well, I'm praying that we get the artist formerly known as Honey Badger to come to Minnesota.
Oh wow!
Wow. Why is that route?
Somewhere in the third or fourth round.
You think he's worth the risk? Even though he's going to drop, you think he's worth the risk?
Well, we have two fourth round picks. We have 2 first rounds, 2 fourth rounds. So you could play around with him in the fourth if he does if he falls that low. I think like kind of like a Jenkins thing, like Jenkins from St. Louis did last year. He fell kind of low. St. Louis did take a pick on him. I honestly thought maybe if St. Louis passed up on him then that the Vikings should have said, hey, we'll take him. But I think with the Winfield thing, although Minnesota is still trying to re-sign him back, which I honestly think they should, because I don't think we're ready without him yet, at least without leadership. I thought if you get a Honey Badger type, he does play corner, but also the special teams element. Remember, the big thing with Percy Harvin was, not only are you taking a receiver away, you're taking a special teams edge that we had last year. You're taking that away as well. So you need to get somebody to replace that in a sense, and I think somebody like him, who's made great returns in college, could come here and you're doing just like how Chicago did Devin Hester. You just start him primarily as a special teamer. Second, third year, and you finally move to a side of the football. Obviously, you're moving to the defensive side of the football, and then you go from there.
Mm-hmm. So we're also going to talk a little bit about the other things that are happening also in the NFL. Another big time free agent signing was Steven Jackson for the both of you guys here. What do you guys think about that one?
High risk, high reward. I mean, this is a guy that has a lot of miles on him. If he holds up throughout the entire season, you got a good bargain. But if he gets an injury, he's going to sit out some games. You could have kept Michael Turner. Mm-hmm. I mean, Michael Turner's going to give you the same production almost.
Robert, I was getting ready to say that's just a bigger Michael Turner. That really is. It's a bigger, taller, a little bit stronger Michael Turner. But you know what? If they could use him right, it's pretty good for him. Again, if he can survive the wear and tear, that's perfect. I mean, obviously, their biggest free agent signing, I guess, re-sign, I should say, or dragging out of retirement was Tony Gonzalez.
Right.
You gotta hope this is gonna work, because obviously, trust me, I know from experience, bringing back a guy who really was done playing, bringing him back to play one more season, and that went disastrous in the 2010 season for the Vikings, as everybody knows.
Right.
But I just think that they have to do it now, and right now in that division, I mean, obviously, New Orleans is gonna come back. They're gonna come back peed off. They're gonna be pissed more than ever. They're gonna come back ready. All hell to break loose with the NFL. So they're ready to go. Carolina, the last 4 games of the season, I think Cam Newton got it now. I think, as I told you guys before, it's the adversity test in the second year. A lot of these other second year quarterbacks will go through as well. Cam, it seems like he got it now. It seems like he know how to adjust to the defense is adjusting to him. He's trying to get him a little bit. Give him a little. Give him maybe another. You gotta give him another receiver to replace D. Smith or whatnot. But give him something on the defensive side of the football. I think Carolina definitely can win at least 19 games next year. They can go back to win some more games next year.
Right.
Tampa, I don't know what's going on there. That's the only question mark. I know they got the questions on do they want to bring back Josh Freeman or not.
Right.
So
I think Freeman's gonna get one more year, but they did get a good signing in Golston. Like you said, they're a wild card because they had so much potential last year, but they're all over the place now. With so much attention being paid to Seattle and San Francisco, who do you think is that dark horse team that's going to come out the woodworks and just show up other than Minnesota?
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say us.
Okay.
Actually, I was gonna say a team from our division, but I'll go with another dark horse. Well, Lamar, put a big smile on your face. I might have to say this. This is it for the Cowboys. This is it.
Yes.
This is the absolute it for the Cowboys. They have to do something this season. If not, I think Lamar, you're gonna have to start destroying that team.
Man.
For one, with you guys switching your defense back to the 4-3, I think it kind of makes you a little more back to okay, you guys can do something there. I think obviously with that 3-4 stuff, since Parcells left and their way, well, once you got rid of Ray Phillips, you knew damn well that you guys should switch that defense then, but you took a chance on it.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
I have to say the Cowboys because the Eagles are the big question mark. Washington, again, did you really come back for game one?
Mm-hmm.
Even then, you still got to give them half the season to recover.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
New York, we all know about New York. We don't know about them, obviously. We don't know. They could be it. I would pick them if they don't fall apart, but I got to say it's got to be the Cowboys.
I've been so kind to Dallas. Every year, I say Dallas is going to have, this is the year they get together. They're going to do it this year. And then they fall short. But I think this year they have to do it because Romo knows this is it. I think this is it. I think Jerry loves him like a son.
He's getting his deal soon. But you have to almost realize this. This almost feels like this got to be. I know Jerry's gonna end up getting him his deal anyway, so he's not gonna go next year without it.
I mean,
you gotta almost realize, Lamar, that if you don't do it now, it's now or never.
If y'all.
Now you start destroying this team.
If y'all are frustrated about my team, can you imagine how I feel? I mean, come on now. Really. Over the last 2 years, I've been frustrated about this squad. Making the 2 8-8 seasons. Starting off the season kind of and then, getting all the way up there to December, having some hope, thinking that you got the chance, you might can get to win the division. Yes, we can do it, and then we lose in the last game of the season. Both years. On Sunday Night Football.
Was it 2007 y'all went 13-3? Y'all just got to run the gate.
Come out the gate.
Y'all just got to run the gate.
Yeah, that's the only way.
That's the only way. You win 13 games by December then, and then if you collapse, you're still in the playoffs.
Because Romo and pressure don't go together. And what pisses me off the most is like so many people got on LeBron James back about pressure. You don't do well in the end of this.
Right.
Tony Romo never does well when it matters. Never.
I don't know. Was it that Seattle game that did it? Was it that game in Seattle that did it?
Oh yeah, hey, we've never seen it.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, trust me, man. Trust me. I know how you feel. I mean, hey, like you said, Seattle, New York in 2007. Let's see.
The last two games to end the year.
The last two games to end 2001, 2011, and 2010. 2012, and also 2008, 44-6 against Philadelphia. That's still fresh in my mind. Those games have made me like so mad and all this stuff. I feel like if I could just tear out my hair, I could. 2009 was much better though. Yeah, they did, at least they did perform very well to beat the Eagles twice, losing to the Vikings, but I kind of didn't expect them to do anything there. But that's okay. That's okay though. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay that y'all demolished us. I was just happy about getting that one playoff victory for the first time in a long time. I'll go ahead and say that.
Right. Now, I gotta ask you this.
Right, obviously, right now, the power teams are obviously. We laughed about the NFC West for years, and now, boy, they got the two best teams sitting right there waiting.
Right, and St. Louis is in the. I think St. Louis is a dark horse team too. I mean, they need a receiver.
I agree.
They get a receiver, and if they can keep, I mean, they got a lot of draft picks. They get a receiver, and they get out the gate fast like they did last year. I think they can build something. Arizona just needs a quarterback. I don't know.
Yeah.
Defensively, if they can go back to playing defensively how they played the first 6 games last season throughout the whole season next year, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think so. I think their defense suffered a lot because of their offense. I think their defense, you can only hold so many points before it's just we can't do it no more. I mean, obviously you gotta if teams are scoring more points than we can score, we're in trouble, and that's just it boils down to that. It just because
Right.
they hold them so long before they drag us up down the field. If their defense can go back to playing that way, I would say yes to Arizona. I would say that because I mean they have the pieces. They kind of have the pieces there, but I don't know. We always got to see what Cobb can do, or whoever the hell their quarterback.
Well, they cut Cobb.
See who it is.
Yeah, they cut Cobb. I don't know what I don't know. They said I read something about interest in Fitzpatrick. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you really want to gamble on Ryan Fitzpatrick though? I don't know.
Again, with him, if he can go back to the first season,
Yeah.
2 years ago,
We got paid before he got paid.
Mm-hmm.
And play like that the first half. Oh yeah, Arizona's good. Just don't remind him of the last 8 games.
Right.
Don't remind him of the second half of that season because he
Hey.
fell apart on that one. So.
Here's another interesting thing about your division too. The Bears are going to lose Brian Urlacher. They said that pretty much that he's not coming back.
They have pretty much moved on. They did it in a pretty wrong way, but they moved on from him there. I don't see. I don't know if Minnesota read a report to. I don't know because Minnesota actually talked to him before he decided to go back to Chicago and get the offer, but I think Minnesota was talking about he had to go go down on his numbers too, as well as the multi-year contract. So I mean, at this point right now, this is the final goodbye to a great player like that. Boy, this NFL, man. I'm really thinking that some of these players are really looking at DeMaurice Smith and saying, dude, what the hell did you just do?
Yeah, because it's like what's going on. You see these deals being made. You see these players getting cut, and then you see the new rules, like the running back rule.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
That rule.
Oh man.
I don't know. I mean, as a running back, if you're running, you're almost telling somebody to run straight up, like kind of how Adrian Peterson. You run straight up, and you have all this right here, and somebody smack you, they smack you. And he says something about, Fisher says something about, if you can see what you hit in the spot, but the problem is, the referees got issues wondering is this pass interference or is this pass interference, and now you're making a judgment rule on a guy who coming in like this, but then he turns up like this at the last second, but yet you already threw the flag out. It's like